Despite reviews having been mixed and opinions on the game being highly divisive, the fact remains that Lost Ark has gone down in history as one of the largest MMO releases in decades. This game managed 1.5 million pre-orders, and the day it launched to almost 5 million active players. Granted, of those 5 million players, only a fraction managed to make it into the game in a timely manner, with many European players still having queues in the tens of thousands due to them not wanting to lose their current progress and migrate to another server, which is totally understandable. Hey, my name is STIX, and if you guys thought that Final Fantasy XIV's Endwalker expansion would go down as the biggest MMO related release in the last year, then you're wrong. Now, if this is your first time here and you're interested in remaining up to date with everything MMO related, then I urge you to go ahead, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to remain up to date with everything that I post. Quick shout out to our patrons over on Patreon. You guys are all amazing. It is humbling to see people willing to support you in any way, whether it be a like or a comment or even a view. Today, I want to discuss the monumental success that is Lost Ark. Regardless of whether you love the game or you hate it, this game has broken so many records, and it has only been out for a week. As of Saturday, February 19th, 2022, that's today, Lost Ark peaked at 1,130,000 concurrent players. This is 7 days after its release, where it peaked at 1,320,000. It's natural to see games decline in concurrent players over the course of its first week. Players interested in the game will try it out and they'll leave it if it doesn't interest them. Players will have this mad rush to endgame so that they can sit there doing absolutely nothing and complain that they have nothing to do, or that the game is dead, or that there's no actual endgame content in the game. It happens with every game and is expected even with Lost Ark, as is evidenced by the decline in almost 200,000 players over the course of the week and 300,000 concurrent players if you don't factor in the weekend boost. But despite the enormous numbers logging into the game, is the title worth it? What about Lost Ark makes it better than competition in the form of, let's say, Final Fantasy XIV or Black Desert Online or even Path of Exile? Honestly, I think VentureBeat actually put this about as eloquently as I think it could be put, and that is that it is a lot of content in an attractive package. At the end of the day, Lost Ark has a lot of content, a lot of story, and a lot of systems, while all being presented in one of the most gorgeous visual representations of the genre. This game is a unique amalgamation of two very different genres. MMOs, massively multiplayer titles that are built specifically around larger scale group content, and ARPGs, action role-playing games that are traditionally either single player or features small scale multiplayer. Lost Ark just throws you blindly into a massive world filled with a plethora of things to do. Beginning the game, you're greeted with a brief tutorial that walks you through the various systems you'll find populating it, how to move your character, your abilities that are at times frustratingly bound to letter keys, the narrative. This can very easily be skipped by clicking the massive blinking skip tutorial button that remains present over the course of the entire tutorial. For players that have either already experienced this or have a basic understanding of how games like this work, you'll find the leveling experience to be relatively painless. It's quick, and you're only required to progress with the main scenario to hit level cap. This removes the need for players to engage in side content that, let's be honest here, most players often ignore in MMOs anyway. Don't deny it, I know you guys are equally as guilty as I am of doing this. You'll notice that there is an abundance of fetch and kill quests though, which at times, like in all MMOs here, becomes repetitious, even dull. Thankfully, on the way to level cap, you'll find that you continue to unlock additional things to do, things that supplement the repetitious nature of questing. It's not as simple as just hitting level cap as soon as possible, and while that's definitely a route you could take, if your ultimate goal is to complete the game, you're going to miss a lot of fun activities along the way. Yes, zones are very linear to the point where you hold down your right mouse button and watch something on YouTube or Netflix while slowly riding to your quest objective, because it's unlikely you'll need to alter your course, and you'll encounter other players out while doing this. But open world content, with the exception of larger, more powerful zone bosses, doesn't really require other players to engage in. This is both a pro and a con. Many players from this generation are of the opinion that you should be capable of completing an MMO without ever having to participate in group content. that group content should merely be an afterthought, an additive feature, something that you can do if you really want to socialize a little. And I get it, I do. Some of us just genuinely do not have the time to wait for other people. Being given the option of moving through the entire story solo is beneficial for those of us that don't want to be forced to rely on other people to finish our content. That's why dungeons are doable solo or with a group. Heck, even Blue Protocol is providing the option for solo queuing or queuing in a group. Group content used to be the focus of MMOs, but general player disinterest is very evident and developers are obviously aware of this. The most difficult competitive content will likely always require a multitude of players to engage in. Scaling it will likely just be too difficult otherwise. Now, MMOs these days often feel like you're moving through the game with no purpose, and Korean MMOs are by far some of the worst culprits. And I'll be the first to admit here that while Lost Ark is no Final Fantasy XIV or Star Wars: The Old Republic, its narrative is interesting enough, it is engaging enough to keep you thoroughly entertained, to grow a little attached to some of the characters. Sure, the premise is simple enough, but it's executed well. The story pushes you into dungeons, it pushes you into unique instance scenarios, some of which take 30 minutes, some that take an hour to complete, like infiltrating a massive castle with an army of troops at your side, or when you were forced into your own castle and had to ride out to save what's-his-face because he's a pampered princess. There's Makoko seeds, which, if you can bring yourself to actually collect, is an achievement in and of itself. I collect the ones I find. Mrs. STIX, on the other hand, she goes out of her way to actively seek them out via dedicated guides. Yes, she has the patience of a saint, which, comes as no surprise. She married me. You gain access to your own bachelor pad, which you can slowly work on, building, upgrading, turning it into your own tropical paradise. There's an active PvP scene, although like most PvP MMOs, if you're not playing one of the classes that excel at preventing you from actually playing your character, you're going to have a very rough time. You can also work on maintaining a relationship with a growing number of characters. These relationships, they can grow, and as they continue to progress, can lead to certain outcomes. You know what? I'll just let this screenshot here explain in detail what I cannot put into words. And this is just off the top of my head. This is what you'll experience on the way to level cap, completely disregarding all of the content that gets thrown at you once you hit endgame, which we're admittedly still working towards in this version, because we're in no rush. We're just enjoying the ride, the journey, which I feel like a lot of people are taking the time to do as well. And that's what MMOs are all about. Honestly, at times Lost Ark can feel overwhelming. It can. And at times you're bombarded with so many little red dots that you need to click that you feel like you're in a mobile game. Logging in daily to receive your login rewards, running your daily quests, yet even so, Lost Ark provides an experience that is so easy to get into, so easy to understand. It's basic, it's fun, and it's not overly complex. It takes the formula that games like Path of Exile and Diablo used to dominate the genre, and then it goes and innovates it by combining elements from MMOs, like the open worlds filled with players, group PvE content like dungeons and raids, PvP, player housing. There's an exorbitant amount of content to consume, and it allows for you to take it at your own pace. There's no need to rush to endgame because so much of it is unlocked on the way there. And with how little variety we've gotten over the last decade with regards to top-down isometric action RPGs, Lost Ark is a breath of fresh air. It's by no means going to dethrone Final Fantasy XIV as the most populated, most played MMO long-term, and player numbers will definitely dwindle down over the course of the next month, but it is nevertheless still enough to scratch that itch that we've all had for a long while now. A gorgeous, fun, easy to get into MMO. An MMO that you can just take some time to enjoy. An MMO that doesn't rush you, and instead rewards you for playing longer. Now, how many other MMOs can say that they offer you, that they provide you that? Now, if you're interested in my official review of Lost Ark, then you can go ahead and click that over here. Otherwise, I hope you guys are having fun in the world of Arkesia.